Feel your body sitting. Bring your attention into this moment here and now. Feel the body. Feel the body while knowing you're not the body. The awareness of this moment is what we are. Where's the boundary of this awareness? It transcends the body. Let go of all the thoughts, feelings, emotions, physical sensations. Don't push them away, just let them be. Allow your attention to drift wider and wider into that which is infinite. This source in us, as us. The quiet depth and silence. As we let everything be, this peace that we are naturally becomes the foreground of our experience. So let's rest in this.
In choir, there's a song we sang, Hine Matov Umanaim Shevet Achim Gam Yachad, which is Hebrew for how good it is for us to be together in oneness. It says brothers, but I removed the sexist remark from it all. I've got a few things up my sleeve here. What I want to start off with is reading. I found this thing on somebody, I think it was AI generated something or other reading, and there's something about it I could feel, it really feels empty. But it's the words of Yogananda, which is anything but empty. So I extracted that, and I'm going to read it tonight to you all, to us all. And then we can have a nice discussion about some of that. And then I've got another thing to pull out if we have time. So let me pull up this. This is 11 signs that you're vibrating high in the divine realm by Paramahansa Yogananda. Yogananda is one of the real saints. There are wise beings, there are sages, there are enlightened beings, and then there's enlightened beings at a whole other level, and he's one of them. Not all of these words are his words, but it's all essentially in there. I'll let you know and say what he says, exactly what he says. He starts off with, let the light of truth shine through your every breath. When your heart is pure, you will see God in your heart. Do you ever feel different from the majority? A deep peace creeps through you even as the world out there is shaking? Have you ever experienced moments when everything around you suddenly became so clear as if an invisible veil has just been lifted, revealing another layer of meaning in life? If you're reading these lines, perhaps somewhere in your soul, something is urging you to realize a silent transformation and an awakening of the higher vibrational waves within you. It's a moment where you not only live, but are awake to live. According to the teachings of Yogananda, this is a sign that you are on the path of spiritual evolution, where your mind and soul gradually blend into the higher frequencies of the universe. So what are those signs? Are you quietly changing, not by the outside world, but by the rise of within from within yourself? Let's delve into some ancient knowledge to shed light on this. 1, silence becomes your companion. In the noisy and chaotic modern world, it is rare for anyone to find joy in silence. But if you start to find yourself craving moments of peace, enjoying the silence instead of being afraid of it, that's a clear sign of heightened vibration. Ramana Maharshi said silence is the highest teaching. Yogananda once said silence is not emptiness. It is where the soul hears the call of God. I remember the first time I felt this clearly. On a quiet night as I was meditating under the moonlight, I realized I didn't need anything to fill my mind. No music, no distractions. I was simply present. In that moment, I felt an infinite abundance from within me, as if the universe and I were no longer two separate entities. Do you feel that way? Do you find that you like silence more and more, wanting to get away from noisy and crowded places? If so, cherish it, because stillness is the gateway to enlightenment. 2, you are no longer affected by negativity. Now, let me just stop here for a moment and say, these are not necessarily yardsticks for your ego to get a hold of, to say, oh, I'm there, oh, I'm not there, oh, I have a long way to go, oh, damn, none of that. If that's what's coming up, ignore that noise. I would say use this to see if you recognize any of this in any fashion, because even if it's not prevalent in your experience yet, it could be a pointer, a homing beacon to pull you more into this direction. Okay, 2, you're no longer affected by negativity. In the past, when someone said something negative to you, did you feel hurt? When an unexpected event occurred, were you easily angered or thrown into despair? But what about now? Do you find yourself becoming more and more calm in the face of life's ups and downs? This is not insensitivity, it's a sign of awakening. When your mind is operating at a higher frequency, low vibrations such as anger, resentment, suffering, fear can no longer cling to you. Like a solid mountain in the face of a storm, your mind gradually becomes immovable against life's fleeting waves of emotion. Yogananda taught, when you understand that the world is just a dream, you will no longer let the little things disturb you. You will live as a dream-awake person, not as one who is carried away by it. There is a story about this. One day, a man came to Yogananda and said, "Teacher, I was always influenced by other people's criticisms. If someone says I am not good enough, I feel sad. If someone praises me, I feel happy. I know I am dependent on the judgment of others. What should I do?" Yogananda smiled and replied, "Imagine that you are a large rock in the middle of a river. The fast-flowing water can pass by, even hit you, but it cannot carry you away. Only small grains of sand are washed away." The man understood, and I believe you might understand it too. If you realize that you are becoming less susceptible to judgment, praise, or negative influences from the outside world, then congratulations, you're shifting to a higher frequency. Satya Sai Baba said, praise and blame is all the same. See it as such. 3, your intuition is growing stronger. Have you ever felt something before it happened? Have you met someone and immediately felt a sense of trust or conversely discomfort, even though you couldn't explain why? If so, you're experiencing one of the clear signs of vibrational elevation, the awakening of intuition. Yogananda taught that when a person lives in mindfulness, they not only rely on reason, but also know how to listen to their inner voice. Intuition is not a mystery. It is the language of the soul, the connection between the person and the whole. Think back to the times when you felt something before it happened. That was no coincidence. There are no coincidences. Einstein said, God does not play dice with the universe. It was a sign that you're expanding your ability to sense energy. The higher your vibration, the more accurate your intuition becomes. 4, you feel unconditional love for everyone. In the past, you may have only loved those who were good to you or cared only for those close to you. But as your vibrational frequency increases, you realize that love is no longer limited to personal relationships. You begin to feel compassion for strangers, even for those who have hurt you. Not because you forget the past, but because you see through it. You see that everyone is on their own path, with lessons they need to go through. Yogananda said, you can't really love if your heart is still limited by discrimination. Love is God love, a love that knows no boundaries. Once a disciple came to Yogananda and said, Teacher, I can love people who are good to me, but I cannot love those who hurt me. Is that wrong? Yogananda smiled and replied, Imagine that you are the sun. Does your light selectively shine on anyone, or does it illuminate everything? A beautiful flower as well as a rough stone. The disciple fell silent. If you realize that you are gradually loving without reason or condition, congratulations. It is a sign that you have reached a higher frequency of vibration. 5, you appreciate simple things more and more. Perhaps you once thought that happiness lay in great achievements, a successful career, valuable possessions, recognition from others. But now you see that true joy comes from simple things, the cool breeze on your face, the morning light filtering through the leaves, the rhythmic sound of ocean waves, or the song of a bird. Yogananda taught when you live in silence, even a falling leaf can bring you enlightenment. If you notice yourself appreciating life's simple beauty with a full heart, it is a sign that your mind has become as clear as a still lake, perfectly reflecting the light of the universe. 6, you sense the interconnectedness of all things. Standing beside a river, have you ever felt that you are not just a small individual, but a part of life's grand tapestry? When you reach a high vibrational frequency, you no longer feel separated from the world. You realize that everything from humans and animals to nature and distant stars is invisibly connected. Yogananda said, we are all just waves in the same ocean. Nothing is really divided. It's just that your mind isn't awake enough to see it yet. When you grasp this truth, you live with a new consciousness. You respect nature more, knowing you are this. You treat others with more kindness, understanding they too are part of you. Loneliness dissolves because you realize that you belong to the whole. It's not possible to be alone. 7, you respond rather than react. Think back to a time when someone said something negative and you reacted immediately with hurt or anger. But now perhaps you find yourself pausing. You can still feel emotions, but they no longer control you. You observe the anger without letting it dominate your actions. You see sadness without letting it drag you into despair. This shift indicates that you're reaching inner equilibrium. You no longer react impulsively. Instead, you respond consciously. Yogananda taught, a truly awake person is not someone who never gets angry, but someone who knows how to keep his mind like a still lake, no matter how many stones are thrown in. 8, you're sensitive to energy. Have you ever walked into a room and immediately felt the atmosphere, even without knowing what had happened? As your vibration increases, you become highly attuned to the energy around you. You sense the energy of places, whether it's a serene forest, a bustling street, or a sacred temple. This heightened sensitivity might make you avoid negative environments, preferring spaces filled with peace and harmony. To maintain your energy, spend time in nature. Meditate regularly. Steer clear of toxic conversations or media. I'm going to say that one again. Steer clear of toxic conversations or media. 9. Synchronicities occur more frequently. Have you thought of someone only to have them call you moments later? Have you sought an answer and suddenly stumbled upon the perfect book or conversation? If such synchronicities are happening more often, it means you're more in tune with the universe flow. Carl Jung called synchronicity the universe's way of communicating with us. Yogananda said, when you are immersed in the flow of the universe, everything you need will come to you without you having to force it. I can attest to the truth of that. That's absolutely true. 10, timeless awareness. As your consciousness rises, time no longer feels linear. The past, present, and future appear interconnected, like a vast eternal now. In meditation, observe time's flow without clinging to memories or future worries. This practice helps you align with the divine order of the cosmos. 11, dissolution of the ego. The ego convinces us that we are separate individuals who must compare, compete, seek external validation. But when you vibrate at a higher frequency, you see through the ego's illusions. You no longer define yourself by success, status, or others' opinions. Yogananda said, when the mind settles like the surface of a quiet lake, truth will reveal itself. When the ego dissolves, a profound freedom emerges, the freedom to simply be. Okay. There you go.
Eric, were you were you meaning to post that on the screen, or did I not see it?
No, I was not.
Oh, okay.
I didn't want you distracted by.
Okay, great.
I will send it out in the email follow up after.
Okay.
How much? How much of that spoke to you, your experience?
A lot.
A lot.
Yeah.
I'm still processing it. Like when your intuition is really strong, then you're much more connected. That's what I feel. I feel like I'm much more connected when I found this book that just popped up and I'm reading it, and it's so valuable to what I've been questioning. And I just found it under a pile in my room. And it was a book that I got from one of those people have those little libraries on their front lawn that you can book and take a book. And I took a few of them, and then I just never read it. And I just found it like a few days ago, and I read the 3rd chapter today, and I thought, this is so like speaking exactly to what I've been asking. So I love when that happens, and that means that I'm connected more. I'm making more of an effort to connect regularly, even if it's 5 minutes in the beginning of the day. But I'm just feeling like what you were saying, when you're more in the flow, things are more effortless and come to you and answers. And I don't react the way I used to. I respond more. So that's great.
That's a big one. That's really a big one. Reactivity is the ego's way of reinforcing itself.
Yeah.
Yeah, Karen.
We're talking about intuition, and I closed my screen and I got up and I went to go get my phone that I left in the other room, and there was a message from my aunt asking for prayers.
There you go. Well, good space to bring that into here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hope she's okay.
It's for her sister that was having seizures in family. The good news is mom's out of the hospital today, and my aunt is dealing with family, prayers for all of them. So I said, sending many prayers for Gay and all the family and all those helping her. May divine light and love be there everywhere present, holding and comforting all in the highest good for all. That's where we are right now.
Yeah.
Amen.
Satnam.
In truth, we are the prayer. Therefore, there's nothing to intentionally send. People say, oh, I'm having surgery Thursday at 10 o'clock. Pray for me Thursday at 10 o'clock. No, it's all here right now. And we're radiating that which we truly are. What is a prayer? It's this. It's this. Yeah. It's sure it's fine to like direct it and do things like that. But I think what because that's what I got this one time, this teaching about this very thing. It's like you are the prayer. You can go direct it if you want, but it's done long before your mind figures out it needs to direct something.
I feel like when your ego gets kind of caught in that, like, gets pulled into ego thoughts and ego things, um, for me, the prayer helps to bring me back to my
Oh
center.
yeah, sure. It's an intentional focusing of upward, higher frequency, if you want to call it that.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
It's as if I've been having a lot of extended conversations with ChatGPT about consciousness. Pretty incredible stuff. And it's as if the mind is this neutral vehicle, and there is an element in there that gets to choose whether it wants to pay attention to the lower frequency or the ego, or the higher frequency or the divinity. What it wants to fill itself up with.
Yeah, and then there's the collective energy too.
There's the collective, and yet, this is leading into an interesting space.
Okay, let's go.
Yes, okay. So the ego owns everything. It is narcissism personified, literally. That's what it is. The ego manifested through the body is literally narcissism personified. It thinks everything's about it. So a thought comes up into the space of awareness, and it said, that's me, that's mine. So it seeks out to find thoughts that make it feel good. That's me, but it can't discriminate. And once it does that, it generates thoughts that make it feel bad to it. That's me. All these thoughts that are coming up inside me is me. That's the trap. That's the trap. Because speaking from experience, what I know myself to be in truth is infinite awareness. Infinite, open, spacious, no boundary in that sense. So what's coming through in my awareness at this moment, right now, that's arising is, we'll call it an object of consciousness, a thought, a feeling, an emotion. And when I was caught in the ego all the time, well, it was obviously me. But that's not actually the case. We are in the field. What's coming through in your experience, in our experience moment to moment, is a soup. It's a field of energy, some of which are thoughts that are more localized, of things that are, called your personal history. Some of things are more of a collective. Some things of the energy field, I know from working through all my family tribal lineage of the Holocaust stuff. A lot of that stuff had nothing to do with me personally, but it was in my field. There was a lot of pain and a lot of various disturbances in there. And when I thought it was all me and about me, it became extremely painful because there was something wrong with me. But as it opened up, as that false identification with that separate self started dissolving, then something comes through and it's, oh, okay, yeah, this doesn't feel comfortable, but that's not me. This is just something floating through. yes, I have a responsibility in that moment, the ability to respond to this in the highest way that I can be in the moment. And then in an electronics term, that's called being a transducer. It's transforming energy from one form into another. So think of thoughts, feelings, emotions, moods, experiences. They're just all of that. And it's a whole different way of being in the world when you realize that I don't have to identify with any of this. Any of this. I had an extraordinarily profound experience a couple of weeks ago I will share. I mean, the story itself is kind of interesting, but it's the punchline that I really want, the reason why I want to share it, because it's profound. And if I can do this right and I could and transmit this to you all, and you could take it in your own way, you may find this useful. Throughout a fair amount of my life, I had been dealing with what I only recently identified as a mood. It was, so we have thoughts that come very quickly and they move out quickly. We have feelings that come in fairly quickly. It's a little slower, take a little longer to go through. Emotions come in quickly, they take a little longer to dissipate. But then there's this thing called a mood, what I didn't really realize, which is more like the weather wafting in. And it sticks around for a while. This was my experience. It would come in and be there for months. And it's like, and I thought this was me. Really, I mean, because especially the ego identifies with it, right? So it's coming through and it felt pretty horrible. Threw terms at it, trying to understand it, maybe dysthymia, maybe depression. It was muting this inner joy that I know was in there. And I would try to do things to make it go away, or to manage it, or to cover it over, or to run away from it. There's nothing more powerful than emotional mood swings as a drug, let me tell you. But none of it worked. And I did all the therapy stuff and all the meditation stuff, and I did all the India stuff, and it worked to some degree. And then I started working with psychedelics, and I was able to start to tear apart the inner scaffolding of the ego that was keeping all sorts of things in place, and I was in a whole different space. But a couple of months ago, this thing came back in, and I'm going, oh, this is interesting. There's obviously some unfinished business here. So instead of getting scared of it and running from it and saying, what could I do to wallpaper over it? Or I said, oh, come on in. Two things. One, by this point, I already knew who I am. I mean, really know who I am. So like, I am not leaving here. I'm not leaving home. I am home. I'm not leaving home to go into that thing. You're welcome to come here, but I ain't going there. So I was able to watch it and look at it, and I squirmed in it because it was uncomfortable. And still, I was working with it and processing with it and talking with Wendy about it at some point, some of it. Not quite, I'm in it. I'm definitely working with it. It's like, this is really familiar. I finally labeled it. This is a mood. It's like somebody living in Northern Ireland and always being in the cloudy, cold, dank thing. So then Ray Charland over there in the corner came over a couple of weeks ago to, I'm grateful for you coming over and sitting with me, because there was this new psychedelic medicine, well, new to me, called Changa, which is basically DMT, dimethyltryptamine, infused into herbs, which I won't get into this, the psychopharmacology of it all, but it was a kind of like ayahuasca light in a sense, without the real intensity of all that. But it comes on right away, and it lasts about 20, 30 minutes. And I had been working with this mood thing. So I said, okay, I've been wanting to try this. I have it. Ray came over and I put it on the altar in this mood thing. I said, all right, I did what I do to invoke the divinity into this. And then I smoked some of this stuff. And the first round came in, and it's like the colors in the room got really nice and turned up, and it was like they went 4-dimensional and translucent. And I'm thinking, all right, this is pretty interesting. And then I took another hit a little bit down the line. And then now it turned out that this was on February 5th. February 6th would have been my brother's 42nd birthday. So I'm taking this in, and I'm feeling like real gratitude to be able to breathe, because it was ultimately that my brother couldn't breathe anymore that killed him. And I'm feeling gratitude for life. And Ray and I are talking a little bit about it while I'm in the midst of this. And I'm feeling like, well, what about people who are like really having to sit in depression and sitting in that mood thing all the time? Like, how do they feel gratitude for life? All of a sudden, I'm just clear as a bell. This is me. I know me. Bright light, bright energy, joy. I'm feeling it crystal clear. And right out there in front of me, floating in front of me, is this thing of that energy, the mood. And like this, the identity shift happens. And I said, this is me. That's not me. Because I grew up with that. That's the emotional matrix I was born into. My DNA was forming in the midst of that emotional matrix. I was born into that matrix. I was raised in that matrix. It was an enmeshment, an identity enmeshment. And then the ego, of course, which thinks it's all about it, locked that in really strongly. And in that moment, it snapped. And I realized, not only is this me, I know me, and that's not me. I have every right to say no to that thing. You are not allowed in my energy field. You are not. That level of sovereignty over my own energy, to keep it pure, to keep it clean and tuned to the divine, which is what I am, is my responsibility. This is your responsibility. This is our responsibility. Because what's going on in the collective is crazy shit. And if you're not careful, you will get sucked in. It's happening all over the place. First article I published on my website a year ago is entitled, "This is Not a Drill."
Yeah.
Go read it if you haven't. We've been training for this our entire life, entire incarnations. Own your sovereignty. Keep your source pure. The pure source comes into us. It's only when we have this mistaken identity mixed up with all the stuff we grew up with, all the things society told us we are or we're supposed to be, et cetera, et cetera. That's all noise put into our energy field. It's not nefarious. It's not evil. It's just profound ignorance.
Yeah.
This is me. That's not me. That's not allowed in my energy field. Not only are you allowed to say that, you must say that.
Eric,
Yes.
you said when you were doing the points that you emphasized one, which was avoid toxic conversations in media.
Yes.
I don't know if the word was avoid, but that's sort of what I'm wondering about is if it's something like avoid, isn't avoiding something a way of getting trapped by it? And how do you avoid
Very
that?
good, very good, very good. There's a subtlety here. I'm really glad you brought it up. And this is, Martha's been wanting to talk about this. I said, we're going to get into it. We're going to get into it from the appropriate level. You know, we're not going to go into the polarity. We're not going to go into the duality of it because that's not where we live. So to your point, if you're pushing it away, what you need to do is pay attention to your inner self. You know yourself. Be 100% honest with yourself at all times so that you are clear about whether you are standing in your sovereignty and your authority and saying no versus pushing something away out of fear. And if that's the case, you'll know, because you will know. It's discernment. You start to pay attention, and it's discrimination. And discernment and discrimination is much deeper than the intellect. It comes from a much deeper, closer to the soul level. And so you start to work at that level and have this conversation with yourself at this level. And then that's where your guidance becomes crystal clear. And so then happens is something comes in, and you'll notice whether, because it's not a binary thing. I mean, it is, the stronger you get in your true nature and your true identification of the truth of what you are, true identity, the more powerful this field becomes and the more clear the distinction. But the process is a continuum. So if we go to the other end of it, it's somebody who's lost in the external, lost in the ego identity, and is lost in fear, and then they're making all their moves to try to protect themselves, and you could feel the difference. Vibrational feels very different. So let's put those two at the ends of this continuum. And so most of us fall somewhere in between there, and it's not static. I may be really strong and anchored here, but all of a sudden some bigger amount of fear comes going through the experience, and it throws me, in which case I have to turn up the discernment, I have to turn up the awareness, I may have to turn up my breathing. So I'm willing to allow anything and everything to come through my experience, so then I could see clearly where it is I'm responding from. So if I see, aha, there's fear here. All right, good. I welcome it. Because if I didn't, right, then I would be afraid of fear, and then it's got me. So let me stop with that and see how that lands for you.
That's helpful. I mean, I'm good at avoiding, I think I'm pretty good at avoiding the media, but I just know that I'm hiding from it. I mean, avoiding it means just, as you say, pushing it away, not having some different relationship to, as you described, the difference between pushing it away and having some more sovereignty from it, I guess, to use that word.
Play with it. You will learn. You will very quickly, especially you, I know you, very quickly you will start to discern more and more, and you'll know how to navigate it. So exposure to the media. So I got rid of my Washington Post. I got rid of Sam Harris. I got rid of Barry Weiss. I still keep the New York Times so I could play the crossword puzzle. So I go into the New York Times and I go zip, 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 and I scroll straight to the bottom right away because I don't want to see any of this crap. But of course, I'm not going la 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 la. Things come into the awareness. I'm just very clear about the cost of allowing that in. Cost on a couple of levels. One, I have to process it. I have to deal with it. Two, what am I here for? What am I here for? What is my function? If my function is to be the light, if my function is to be as strongly rooted in the deeper truth so that I could radiate it, because whatever you have in your energy field, that's what you're radiating, then, that's my commitment to being here right now on this planet. That's my role. Now, yes, you can get off into an ego thing about it, but don't let that get in the way of the fact that we are here to hold space in a profound way. Don't let that ego shit confuse that. So therefore, whatever's in the field, I have to deal with. Let's just throw some arbitrary numbers at it, If I go watch MSNBC tonight, I'm going to have 62 units of crap I'm going to have to process out of my field. What was the value of that? There was no value of that. Why? Because what's going to happen is going to happen. That's not in my control. Look, when I was living in India, I was 4 months. I had no contact to the West at all. And it was in the midst of Iran scam, like Iran Gate, and all sorts of shit was going on. You know what? It didn't matter, right? So what's going to happen is going to happen. The process that's going on the planet right now is way bigger than what anybody's story is. It's way bigger than what the media is bitching about. It's way bigger than the polarity that's going on. And what's going to unfold is going to unfold, and it has to unfold. So then the question is, what's our role in it, and where do we take our stand in the midst of it, and how do we want to use our energy or let our energy be abused? And so these are really important questions.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I really haven't watched the news since the election. I don't even watch Jon Stewart. That's how disciplined I am. But I'm understanding why. I mean, I've been having experiences earlier and earlier training me in this. Like, I think if you read this, I have to go look maybe it was, This Is Not a Drill. I'll look up which article it was. But anyhow, it was the one where I talked about how a few years ago I was in Peru and Ecuador, and all sorts of weird shit was going on in that trip. And every time something went on, it caused me to go deeper inside, to anchor more into source, to hold space for the entire group, because everybody else was getting all flipped out about things, and everything always worked out. I knew then I was being trained. And it's like it's a complete one-to-one map of that to this. This goes for all of us. You know, if I have to know something, if spirit wants me to know something, don't worry about it. I'll find out. I don't need to go digging for stuff.
So what are some tools, Eric, like when you're in a room with a bunch of people that are so passionate and angry about everything with Elon Musk and and Trump and all that? I mean, for me, I try to just observe it like I'm watching a movie. Like, that's interesting. I try not to like take it in. I try to be, but sometimes it gets me angry. So it's like it's a constant, dance, for lack of a better word. But like, I find that I get a lot with a lot of clients I work with. I have to hear a lot of these people sharing these things, and I have to be respectful because they're paying me to be there, but I have to be respectful.
But they're not paying you to have to absorb shit.
No, I know. But I mean, but while I'm there, what I do is I try to just like go into a different mode of being like the observer. Like so I'm not sucking it all in and getting, this is painful and I hate it and I don't want to be here and listen to this. I just watch it like a movie, and then I don't judge them, but I think, okay, this is their choice to be really enthralled with all of this. It's not mine.
Yeah.
So I have to go walk or something afterwards to like shake it out, because
I'm glad you asked. And here's a couple of things to consider. Number one, we're energy transformers. All that conversation is when you're working with a client is just energy, right? So number two, what do I do when I'm in the midst of that? Ram, 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 Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om. I've got a collection of mantras I pull out, and that's what I feed into my mind, and I'm smiling and I'm letting the thing come through and go through. And I'm going where I can go in myself and work with it. And I take the whole thing and I hand it off to source, and I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing there. Consider the fact that you're where you're supposed to be because spirit is putting you there to act in a higher frequency in the capacity. Okay. Now, at the same time, be careful of getting into shoulds. Shoulds are a tool of the ego. I should be able to handle this more. I shouldn't have to be around this thing. I should. It's a bunch of nonsense. There was something that happened a few weeks ago when I found out something that one of the things were going on in Washington. And Wendy came upstairs and she was in the living room, and I'm stomping around so pissed. I'm going, motherfucker. And I am screaming, because I also don't want to absorb the energy. I don't want to contain it. I'm not doing it I'm releasing it. I'm stomping, I'm getting it out of my body, because it's not just like, I'm not just doing it to be reactive. I'm doing it in a bigger container. The bigger container is the infinite. Okay? The bigger container is the infinite. So let your imagination work for you, right? About how you're playing this role here right now with them. And the other ego thing to be very cautious about, and I'm probably going to be working on this one for at least the rest of this incarnation. And that is, I know more than them. I'm better than them. I see it, they don't see it. That's another trap. I'm totally Kim and I were Kim DiOrio. We were off in the woods last week talking about that very thing because we both are dealing with that in a big way. So there are all these things here. However, from an acceleration of personal evolution, if you want to call it that, every one of these things is like being in a gym where you're working out. And every time you encounter one of these things and you pull on your higher resources to bring to bear, it's strengthening it and strengthening it and strengthening it and cutting you free of the ego stuff and cutting you free and cutting you free. This is how the evolution of consciousness is working right now.
Right. So use it and let it empower you instead of,
right.
Oh, I don't want to deal with that, and like
That's
pushing.
right.
Yeah.
That's right. Exactly right. Because the I don't want to deal with it is a form of resistance.
Mm.
And what it's really saying is, I don't have what it takes to be me in the midst of this.
Mm.
And that's understandable fear. But this is more about, this is Aikido. That's
good. I was thinking of that, and breathing in and breathing out and letting the flow be so you're not stuck in it.
Yes. And you do whatever you need to do, right down to the physical level, especially to move this energy through you. Arthur's really good at it. He knows that stuff inside out.
Okay. That's helpful. Thanks.
Work with your body, because it's mind and body. It's not mind and body. It's mind body. It's one and the same. So as the energy is moving through, it works in both directions. I mean, the body is the ultimate expression of the deeper layers, and it goes back and forth, right? And the body stores and holds energy and works with energy in the form of emotions. You don't want that stuff stuck in you.
Right. Okay. Thank you. So I can't just tell him, shut the fuck up. I don't want to hear it.
What you can do, you can get creative. This is what I do. I find creative ways of diverting the conversation.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And in fact, what all I do is it's like, hey, spirit source, would you change this story, please? And then something will come through. And that's the fun of it.
Yeah.
But look, granted, I'm not planting myself in a bar, who knows where there are Trump flags all over the place. But if I end up there, then I know I'm supposed to be there. In fact, in the summer, I was in Arizona. I was actually out there to do some medicine work with a couple of friends, and it was Trump country.
Yeah.
Having breakfast in Trump country. And you know what? I'm sitting there radiating love for these people.
Mhm.
I didn't have to talk with them. I'm next to the guy at the thing at the table eating breakfast or whatever, and he's got his hats and he's got his that, and I'm going this way, right? Yeah, and actually it felt really good.
That's doable. Yeah. I like that. Just keep projecting love and put that energy out instead of absorbing.
Right. And there are people who want to bait you. Don't fall for that. Just don't go there.
I don't. I mean, I have relatives like that, and whenever they get all crazy, I usually go to the bathroom or go make a phone call. I just excuse myself and come back, and I mean, it just because sometimes if I say anything, like I have said, you know what, I don't agree with your beliefs, and let's respect each other's. That we don't agree on things and agree to just, but that it never worked. And then they would get stronger, like they were trying to convince me, but you don't know this. And I'm
No,
like,
well, that's because you were trying to go at it from the duality. Don't go this way. Go this way. I go straight into the non-duality space. And if somebody like that were to come and talk to me about it, want to suck me in, go, I just go start talking at it to, I talk about it from the non-duality unity space at this level. And very quickly, they don't want to talk.
Okay.
Either they don't, or I manage to drop something in that either I could feel it either lands or it comes in and it will start to come out through their consciousness at some point. But in either case, I don't go into the duality level ever. And if I do, I just temporarily lost my way, but I quickly come out of it.
Okay. I mean, I haven't thought of it that way, but I just try to like diffuse it by saying, let's talk about something else. I mean, I'm really not into talking about politics because it usually causes people to get, all in arguments, and I just don't want to be doing that.
Look, however it occurs to you to work with it, work with it.
Yeah, no, but I'm saying that's what I'm listening to what you're saying, but that was always my thought, was just to diffuse it and to be and have them respect how I feel. But no,
But see, you can't control that.
Yeah.
I'm learning that now.
No, you can't convince anybody of anything. And even if you could, it makes no difference. It makes no difference. It makes no difference.
I'm not trying to convince them anything. I'm just trying to tell them to like, let's not talk about it because it's uncomfortable and we don't agree. But I'm not going to do that anymore. I'll just get up and walk away, say a little prayer, go wash my face.
Yeah.
Talk about, yeah. Because, yeah, I mean, I have some, yeah, thank you. I mean, I'm glad we talked about this. I'll work with it.
You can see people falling into two different camps, if you will. People who are getting pulled more and more into the drama, and people who are disconnecting from a drama.
Yeah.
At one level, you could say, well, this is the ego's last stand. And forget about personalities. Forget about that's how you get lost. It's not about Trump. It's not about Musk. It's not about anybody. Those are just mushrooms popping up on the mycelium. It's the mycelium that we're talking about dealing with here, not the mushrooms. The mycelium is the collective ego. Collective ego operating to try to maintain fear, control, status quo, all this stuff, to basically try to distract people from connecting to divinity. That's what this is about.
So true.
It's not about the individual players. They don't even understand how much of a pawn they are. They don't.
I know, it's so funny. I mean, really, if that was that realization.
They don't. But you can see how they've emptied themselves of self.
Yeah.
And that's how they get used. We can go down that road and I can explain the lust for power and where it comes from and all that. But none of it matters. All that matters is what are we choosing and what are we plugged into and how are we operating in this plane. That's all that matters.
Right. I agree.
Yeah, I'm just not quite sure. And I've been playing both games, like checking out, the news of just a few trusted, in my opinion, pretty basic facts. Not a lot of drama, not too much opinion. And then I'm like, okay, that's all I need to know. And then I'm clearing the field and I'm back in my retreat, if you will, my space. However, there's, once in a while I think, maybe there should be a little bit of action, you know, taking action from a place, but from a grounded place.
That's the key, Martha.
Yeah. You know, really from a grounded place and like what's really true here. And is there something, is there right action that I can take here to support something? I don't want to be on that stage. Right. I don't want to be one of the players in the drama. But is there something that I can support or feel that I'm contribute? I mean, other than holding light and space, are there things, you know, on a human level, if you will, a physical level, where I can contribute?
Of course.
What are your thoughts on that? Yeah.
Of course. You know, it's not, I mean, if we're all sitting there like this, you know, like that's absurd.
Right.
Okay. We do this so that we can quiet our mind and open our hearts so we could hear more deeply what is the right dharma or the right action for me to take here.
Yeah.
And then you act from that. Then that action has power. If you act from fear, not only does that action not have power, it's contributing to the collective fear.
Yeah. Yeah.
So remember, we're the source.
Yeah.
So again, going back to that story of my mood thing, the source that comes through me is really clear. But if I get hooked into all sorts of other stuff, it pollutes the source, and then it distorts what I'm seeing as a reflection. And then I get confused, and then I get fearful, and then because I feel more separate, and then I start acting from that place.
Yeah.
That's why it's so imperative to protect the source. Not the source itself, it needs no protection, but your localized flow, it's our responsibility to keep that clear. And then
like your own personal life force energy is what
right. That's
call it.
That's right.
It's clearing and running through.
Right. Exactly. And then act from that.
Yeah.
See, because when you act from that, you're acting from the energy that is of the unified whole.
Yeah.
Right. And that's infinite power. That's why go look through history. Without fail, all fear-based initiatives fail. It's just a matter of when.
Yeah.
Without fail. Why? Because there's no coherency in fear. There's no there's no sympathetic resonance in a sustainable way of fear. There is sympathetic resonance. That's what's happening with I'll call it MAGA for lack of a better term, right? This is a fascinating thing that we're always, there's an internal drive to look for something big, to become part of something bigger than the self. The healthy form of that is the homing beacon, which helps us transcend the ego. So we recognize we are this bigger thing. But the unhealthy form of that is people abdicating their own sense of self for an organization, especially a political one, especially one in the form of what we're seeing here. So they give up their own sense of self to take on the sense of self that Trump wants them to be. And now they're feeling powerful by vicarious. They gave their power to this thing. So there's a collective resonance there that feels more powerful than the individual. That is true, but that totality will fail because it has no coherence unto itself.
Yeah. Okay.
I think we need to be in nature more.
Totally.
Yeah, for sure.
and use that to help all of us bring forward more of
Absolutely.
essence. And I think that is a key for some of us to really help bring balance.
Yeah.
Love that. I have one more thing that popped up while you were saying that is for me, and I think probably all of us could benefit, is having a mantra. So if I'm in a position where I'm feeling maybe fear, or I'm getting pulled into some drama or negative energy, I have a mantra, and it's basically, I am the light is within me, the light flows through me, the light uplifts me, I am the light. And I'll just keep saying that, I am the light. And then it just, like, I feel like it's this aura of light projects from me out, and that can come in. And it's a mental thing, it's a spiritual thing, it's a soul connection that some people might think I'm crazy. I could tell you guys this, but like the average, person might be like, that's weird. But you know what? It works, because when I actually do go there, I feel like nothing can touch me. I'm in this light. This light is coming to me and through me, and everything's good, and it just brings this sense of calm and grounding. So I just remember that, because sometimes I've forgotten it. But right now, while we're talking about this, I thought, what could I do? What is something I could do to protect my own being, but also to project light out so that other people are affected by that?
You just answered. You are doing it.
Right.
And it's not your imagination, it's real.
No, I believe that, but I mean, like, if I've said that to some people that don't understand it, they wouldn't understand it. But I feel like this group does understand that, and yes, and that works.
We don't understand this. You're crazy.
But I mean, I'm agreeing, being in nature and like having a mantra, and there are things that we could empower ourselves with all the time, even when we're in the midst of all that.
Yeah. Being together here is a reality check, capital R. It's a reality check.
Yeah, it's great to have this, to have a community of people that all want the same thing and are like-minded. It's great.
This is 2 to the 16th power. 16 people or more than 18, 19 people is 2 to the 19th power. Every time one of us are more connected in, that field gets more and more amplified. And then when you go out into the world tomorrow, the connection is still here. It's not just us. I mean, we are plugged in to an infinite power stream. Just let it work through us. Right? From the Course in Miracles, what would you have me do? Where would you have me go? What would you have me say, and to whom?
I like that.
Hey, Dina, I think those people want to draw you into their drama. And what I try to do in situations like that is know something about them, something positive. Maybe they're golfers or travelers or whatever, and immediately change the conversation to something that they enjoy in their lives outside of politics. But you have the power to change the conversation, to stop it and change it. And positivity always works, but positivity in something that they like.
Right. That's good.
Yeah, Aikido. All right, let's take some time to, you could even feel even this, and this is good stuff. You can still feel there's an unsettling energy under it all. That's what we're working with here. Don't be afraid of it. Don't worry about it. Keep anchoring in, keep anchoring in, keep anchoring. Yeah. Know that you're not alone. There's infinite power working through you here. Let that truth take you in as we go into the meditation. There's infinite power here. Infinite intelligence. Infinite love. Infinite resources for whatever it is we need to carry out our role here. And as we let it all just dissipate, what's left is peace. This is what's under everything. Whether people know it or not, whether they can sense it or not, whether they're lost in the drama or not, this is what's behind it all. just let it breathe us. Let it come in. Let it purify the mind. Let it purify the heart. Course in Miracles, it says, don't think that you have to be pure before coming to me. I am the purifier. This peace is the purifier. So we invite and allow in gratitude of this. And from this place, this deep peace, just bring in anyone or anything, any situation, the world, the White House, doesn't matter what, just let it sit and just fill up from this. Just let it radiate through us as it is right now. Radiating from this moment here now into all that you call the past and all that you call the future. All here now. And from here we place the future into the hands of the One. So it can just bring about what is the highest to bring about. And we sit in gratitude that we are in a position to be used by this into the world. That this can live through us into the world. And then every action we take is one of service when we're coming from here. And it has the full backing and power of the One. And so it is.
So it is.